Hi, today's video is going to be on Starry Night and the basics of how to use it. Hopefully after the video today you'll know a little bit more about Starry Night and the tips and tricks on just how to find things and where to look. The first and most important part of Starry Night is this top menu bar. With this top menu bar, we have the ability to change our date and time. If you click on it, you'll notice it gets highlighted. We can go up and down on this. We could also go to our number pad and we could plug in, let's say, 5 p.m. You can just put the zeros in. And you can also stop time here so that you don't have any time motion. We can also click on this to go from AM to PM. We can change what the date is. So you click on it and go up and down. And we also can change AD versus BC if you want those really big jumps, change the year. And Starry Night is amazing. If we do all this and we want to get back to now, simply click the Now button, and it will return to today's date and time. You also have to go to sunrise or sunset. A lot of times you want to go to one of these two, and that will bring you to the day you're currently on at the sunrise sunset time. So if I click sunset, today is February 3rd, 2017, and I look towards the west, which here at our high school is setting in the west over the football stadium over here. You can see the lights. You can see there's the sun. And at that time of day on this particular month, if you go up to your labels and you go to planets and moons, you'll see that we've got Mars and Venus up there. Uranus and Neptune are also up, but at this point, we can't see them without a telescope, so you would need a telescope to do that. If we go to like 6 p.m., for instance, you'll see that the sun is set at this point, and we can still see these very bright objects up there. We also have the moon on this same line. And we've got constellations. Now, if you want to see the constellations, hit the K button, and you'll see the constellations pop up. If you want the constellation stick figures to go back away, hit the K button again. If you want to change other options here, you've got the chance to change your location. If you would like to do that, you can choose from Other here. And you can see from a list, a map view, latitude and longitude, and even by postal code. I'm going to leave us here at home for today. You can also choose your cardinal direction, north, south, east, or west. I can click on west, and it'll move my screen to face west. As we said, that's where the sun sets. So that's what we'll be able to use to see things at night. We also have the zoom function, so if there's something over here that you would like to see, notice I can click and drag to move the sky around, and there's the planet Venus. Now if you wanted to see what would Venus look like through a telescope, for instance, you could come down here under field of view. A lot of times these won't be as populated as mine is. I've got this already set up with some telescopes that we currently have at our school, and so this is our big Dobsonian telescope and a 35mm eyepiece. That's the scale of my eyepiece, and then I can zoom in on that and see what would I see. Notice Venus is much, much smaller when you look at it through the eyepiece, but there it is. You can actually see, I'll hit stop time here, and you can see it's actually in a half moon, or like moon-like. It's a half Venus shape. So there's what it looks like. But you would not see it quite that nicely because this is your eyepiece field of view. Now, if we went to a little smaller eyepiece, let's say a 10, we could get significantly closer with that. And even down to like a 4, for instance, you get even smaller. All right, now, some other functions. A lot of times you will need to find something. Click on the find window. If you see it go over here, you have to double click it to get it back, or single click I should say, to get it back. We've got all this list of things to look at. I would certainly ask you to look through those, but you also can search things. So for instance, if you want to see the Orion Nebula, that's up right now, type in the word Orion and it starts to search. You'll see here it is, Orion Nebula. Double click it. It'll actually turn to face that object, and there it is. If we want lists of things, go under Options and you can get lists of many different things that are up in the sky. All sorts of grid systems. So if you want to find the altitude azimuth grid system or the celestial grid, those grid systems are helpful when discussing where things are in space. We also have the ability to highlight things like stars. You can turn on the Milky Way, crank up its brightness. So there's the Milky Way now. We also can put labels on for stars that are really important, which this is a big deal. We can increase or decrease the number of stars that have labels. There they are. And the number of stars that are seen in the night sky. You can also go to here to, oops. We can also go here to our star options, and you can see anything about the labels, change the way they look, the names, the number of labels. So here's more labels on. As you can see, at some point that becomes almost overwhelming, so I would recommend you keep it lower, at least if you're a beginner. And yeah, so this is the basics of Starry Night. I hope this is helping. We also have other options under constellations, as we had done with our K button that turns on the stick figures, but you don't have to limit it to just that. We can also turn on things like boundaries to see, well, where does one constellation start, another one end. We could also turn on their illustrations to see, you know, the artist's rendition. For instance, Taurus is a bull. Orion is a hunter. So this will help maybe to know your way around. Canis Major is a dog. So these are artist's renditions. And let's move on to favorite files. So favorite files, there are some favorite files that come along with Starry Night. There are other ways that you can make a favorite by going up to favorites. That will save anything that's in your window here, all the settings that you've put on, the labels, etc., etc. So if I wanted to say, okay, this is my favorite, and I want to call it add favorite, I don't know, let's say Orion plus stars. Okay, there it is. And now I can click off of this, click on anything else. It changes my field of view completely. Click back, and it's exactly where I was before. So if you want to save something, this is a really, really important function. Status, this tells you what's up in the sky right now. You'll notice this is live. It changes as you move around. Here we've got the HR diagram. We have all sorts of settings here. Lots of really cool information. If you click on info, you can get even more info about something. So let's, like I said, go to Orion Nebula. Notice my mouse changes a little bit as I go. Here is the Orion Nebula itself. I click on it. Now my Orion Nebula information comes here, and all this information is found in Starry Night. It should be accurate and is usable as your research work. If we, oops, sorry about that. If we want to change it to another object, simply click on it, and it updates. Now it's the moon, and it gives you all the information on the moon. If we go to Sky Guide, this is somewhat helpful for beginners especially, and if you're doing this as part of my class, you'll notice that there's a student exercises thing over on the side. That is where our student exercise labs will be. If you ever see it go loading data like that, simply click here and then click back and it'll show up. So if you were doing a Starry Night lab, you get to choose from these letters. That'll be on the top of your lab paper. For instance, today I'm doing with students Starry Night H2, so I'd click on H, then I'd go to H2, and now all of these questions are related to cosmology and the Big Bang. You'll notice that the same questions that are on your paper would show up here. Now, if you're just doing this for fun, you can just click through these, and all of the things in here are manipulative. So if you wanted to, use like location scroller, for instance. This is your different mouse functions up here. Now I can view the galaxy from different ways. So if I want to see it edge on, there it is. And now I'll put it on adaptive again, and that'll change depending on where I am. So you're seeing now the Milky Way from the side. It looks kind of like a saucer or pancake. But if I click back on number 1 again, it goes back to where it started. And that's important because it really helps you to make sure you know how to get back to answering the questions you're supposed to be looking at. Once you're done, you read through this entire thing, you answer the questions, and then you move on to question 2. And you do the same thing. Repeat the process. Do whatever it tells you to do in this window. Sometimes it'll tell you to use like functions here, like the click reset tool. It will give you things like click here to see a magnified view of certain things. So you must follow all the directions on the side here. If you're just going through this for fun, once again, you might not want to do all of this. So my suggestion, there's a home button. This acts just like a web browser, by the way. So anything you need, you can actually go right back to home again. It'll go back to this page. We've also got guided tours in here and all sorts of really cool stuff. Here's a sky calendar with a bunch of things. You can even add information to the sky calendar each month. You've got events. There's where you would put information in. You can add new events. You've got lists. You can make up your own lists of objects. So for instance, deep sky objects for light polluted skies, here is a list of those to use. And I would strongly suggest, if you're really into this, to make your lists. As you view things, maybe you want to say add a list, and it was objects I have seen. And then you've got your list here. And then as you find things, you add those targets to your list. And yeah, it's a really nice tool. So for instance, if you have seen the sun, which pretty much everybody's seen the sun, maybe you want to add the sun to your list. Okay, so add to observing list, and then you would go here to objects that I've seen, and there it shows up. So that's a really helpful tool. Live Sky gives you, as long as you're connected to the internet, some live feeds, things like aurora, solar activity, things like that. Pretty cool. Field of view we've covered, and telescope control. You can actually control telescopes with the Starry Night software. So this is just a scratch of the surface of what Starry Night is capable of. There's a lot more to uncover as you're walking through this. I encourage you to play around, see how this works, and if you have any questions, please ask, because I have had many years of experience with this, and if I don't know how to do it, if it's possible, I will help you figure out how. Thank you very much. I hope you had a great introductory here, and enjoy the rest of your time with Starry Night.